Today, I want to talk about interviewing, some ways I want you to consider how you're going to prepare for an interview. And most people, in my experience, this is decades and tens of thousands of people that I've prepped, do it backwards because the thing that they're so worried about is what questions am I going to be asked? That is a lot of wasted energy when you're trying to anticipate what the specific questions are that somebody's going to ask you. Interviews, while confusing and stressful, are more simple than that because interviewing success is about how well you are going to be able to help that organization transform from where it is today to where it wants to be in the future. That's it. That's sales 101. I have over 3 decades of hardcore selling, and trust me when I tell you, people buy transformation. They don't buy features. They don't want to do the work. They just want the end result. And in an interview, the great news is you can just give them the end result. So what we're going to talk about today is how to get out of that backwards thinking and really kind of the half a dozen great steps that you need to take so that you prepare more effectively, so that you can sell yourself more effectively. You'll execute the interview more effectively by selling yourself more effectively. And I'm going to give you what those steps are. So by the end of this talk, you're going to know how to do this. It's much simpler than you think as long as you know the steps. All right, first thing is I want to like I do many, many times in many of these talks, when we talk about interviewing, I want to make sure that you understand what is at play in every interviewing process. You might think, well, I need to go in there and wow them with my features and my skills and my experience, and as long as I do that, I'll be successful. Job interviewing success has very little, if anything, to do with how well you do your job. It has everything to do with how well you articulate your stories in terms of how your experience or what you're going to do in the future is going to affect them and transform them. It's about your storytelling, and that's a selling technique. In order to sell effectively, you need to know what parameters make people buy. So I'm going to give you the 5 of these that are always in flux whenever you get into an interviewing process, and all of your prep and all of your execution for all of your interviews for the rest of your life should start with these 5 things. Think about these 5 things. Let's run through them quickly. I mentioned the job interview playbook webinar where I go into this more deeply so that I can expedite this talk a little bit, but I want to make sure, just in case this is the only talk you ever hear me give, you're going to get these right now. First thing to think about is, well, what are their goals? What's the company trying to achieve? The product it wants to offer, the service it wants to offer, to whom it wants to offer it, those customers, what issues of those customers are they solving? And the team that I'm going to be joining, what are they trying to accomplish? So businesses are simple. They're straightforward. They want to make money by servicing a customer. That's it. That's the only reason businesses exist, true businesses, commercial businesses. So what are their goals? You start there. When I put my beautiful freemiums out there on my YouTube channel and on the Mile Walk website, what am I doing? You have a job searching problem. I don't say to you, would you please buy my career coaching services? You don't even know what career coaching services are. No, you have a problem. I'm looking for a job. I need to find a job. That's your goal. For a lot of you, at least those that come up here on Thursday, right? You have a goal. It's finding a job. But all your problems are different. Some of you can't get interviews. Some of you can get interviews, you can't sell yourself, right? Some of you don't know what direction to take. Some of you have been bouncing around in different careers. Everybody's got different problems. But your goal is to find a job you love and a company you love. I know this. And I obsess over that, and that's what I think about. I want you to think about, if I'm joining that company that sells that software as a services platform to businesses, it's a business to business sale. I'm joining the marketing team. The company wants more prospects. They want me to get more prospects. They want me to get them cheaply. They want me to get them targets that convert at a higher frequency or a higher rate, right? These are all the goals of the marketing team. The business wants to have customers. They want to find them faster or more cheaply. They want to sell their products and services to them. You get the idea. Start here. You know what these are. These are the goals and things that you do every day for whomever it is you do them for currently or most recently. That's number one. Second thing is, what are the challenges they have in attaining those goals? So every business has a selling problem. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing, right? It's just a challenge. They want to sell more of their widgets. Every company has a marketing problem. Some people are Coca-Cola and they know that when people walk up and down the grocery aisles, there's the Coke bottles or cans and people see them frequently. Sometimes they see them on commercials. Sometimes they see them right on TV or on the radio, or they hear them, or whatever it might be. Sometimes they see them in an ad, but sometimes you work for an organization that isn't very well known, or maybe you're a new company, or maybe you're a company in Europe trying to expand to the United States. You have a brand awareness problem. There are lots of challenges. Now, every company generally at the top level has the same challenges and goals, except when you look under the covers, there could be different problems depending on who you are. You could have two medium-sized companies that sell the same widget. One company might have a problem because they don't have any marketing budget, so they have to figure out on a shoestring budget how to get more people to find them. Another company might have an endless budget, but they don't know effectively how to market digitally, or where to spend their ad dollars, or what social media advertisements will work more effectively. That's a different problem than that, but there's a finite number of these problems, many of which you can anticipate simply by doing your job today. What are the problems? So I know when I offer you a job search training program, I know it's got to handle certain problems. It has to handle the figure out your direction problem. It has to handle the resume writing problem. It has to handle the cover letter writing problem, because it's a problem to write the messages. And then when you send the cover letter out, or the email, or the LinkedIn InMail, or whatever form of communication you're going to send out, well, one problem might be, well, what do I say when the person gets back to me and squeals with glee and wants to talk to me? Another problem might be dead silence, right? Those are still problems that occur in the same step in trying to achieve a goal. You want to list these out, figure out what these are, because the person who knows how to solve the problems I have that can help me achieve the goals I have is even more desirable than the person that knows what goals of mine that I have that they're going to try to help me achieve. If I can talk to somebody who's actually solved those problems before, that's even better, right? How many of you, right, show of hands, come to me and you say, well, Andy, do you work with anybody in France? Have you ever helped anybody in Asia? To which I say, yes, I've helped these kind of people in those kind of locations, emerging professionals, career changers, senior executives, right? You're looking for how I've matched already and solved the problems that you specifically have. That's what you're trying to do for the employers. Third thing, they have a going in position in their mind of what the solution is that it's going to take to achieve their goal and overcome the problems that they have. What's their answer? So every time I look for somebody to help me with my marketing, right, I say, I want more leads. I want more people to come to my Thursday live office hour shows and watch my Tuesday recorded video and watch my new webinars, right, and hit the Mile Walk Academy page, or buy my job search coaching program, or enroll in my leadership coaching program, or something like that. I feel like if I could get more people attracted to my weekly show and they could come and get familiar with me and see if they like my teaching, that my revenue will go up, because some of those people will turn into customers. Makes sense, right? Well, is my solution drive more traffic to my Thursday show? Or is my solution drive more traffic to my webinar? Or is my solution send them more emails and try to sell them something? Or what is it? Well, I have a going in idea. If you build me this new customer relationship management system, it's going to solve my customer service problems, or it's going to help the salespeople better manage their leads, or whatever it might be. So what is their idea of a potential fix? Is that accurate? Is the solution more expensive? Is it less expensive? Can I complete the solution and the program or project sooner, later? What is it? Because all of this influences, right, your match or your desirability. If you could fix my problem faster, I want you faster, right? I want to hire you. And I'm willing to pay more, because if you could do it faster, you're saving me money, because I'm not having to pay you or the team or whoever to actually take longer to implement my solution. So you need to be familiar with what this is. Next thing is I have an idea. It's called a job description, but really what that translates to is the person or the profile, the makeup. And I stress here the initial view of the employee who's going to help me achieve those goals, overcome those problems by implementing the solution that I have. They look like this in my head. It's an assumption. You can also alter that. Maybe they need somebody more senior. Maybe they need somebody more junior. Maybe they don't actually need somebody with this specific hardcore skill, but if you have these abilities, you'll be able to pick it up quickly. Maybe I don't have a full idea in my mind. Maybe you can help me shape that, right? These exploratory interviews that y'all sometimes go on, okay? So they have the profile, and then finally, they have an idea or a going in assumption of what they think that employee with that profile will cost. Based on what? History. And what is history? It's history. It's not accurate. It's what happened in the past. It's what somebody paid yesterday. It's what you're used to seeing. But you don't know what it's going to take to extract that person from whatever he or she is doing, even if it's the couch. Hey, you're going to have to pay a lot of money to get me off the couch from watching Netflix with my 3 dogs and my wife, kind of thing. So these are the 5 things that are always in play. Now, if you agree with me that these are always at play and they're always in flux, even if a company tells you they're not, they're always in flux. They may or may not adjust them for you. You may have not illuminated enough information on any particular one or all 5 of these to get them to change their mind. But I'm telling you that every time I go into an interviewing process, I'm obsessing over this. This is where I'm starting my research. These 5 things: the goal, the problem, the solution, what they think the profile looks like. Maybe you have a job description, that's helpful, and the cost. Maybe they have an advertised salary. Okay, so far so good, right? That's right. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Hell, 11 o'clock's price is not 11:15's price. We live in a whole new world. Okay, so what I want you to stop doing is I don't want you to think about whether you're going to get asked, what's your greatest weakness? What are you going to do when you first get here? Why are we not going to hire you? What's the reason we're not going to hire you? All these stupid questions that you get asked. Forget about that. Just at least for a second, okay? You can revisit them in step number 6, but I'm not going to get to step number 6 until my 6th point. Okay, so I want you to start thinking about those 5 things first, just collectively. Recognize, get your mind right, that I need to think about getting on offense. What do I want to happen? How do I make that happen? I want them to understand how I'm going to help them transform whatever it is they need to wherever it is they want to go, and maybe even beyond, faster than they thought they could. How do I make that happen? Well, the first thing is you have to have all that information. You have to understand those kind of things. So how do you do that? So here's 6 things I'd rather you do in preparing for an interview. First thing, can you think about them? Don't think about you. Literally, just stop thinking about you. Stop thinking about questions. They're going to ask, I don't care what your greatest strength is. I don't care what your greatest weakness is. I don't care why you want to leave or what. I don't care about any of that. Who are they? What are their goals? What are their problems? And what do they need? Okay, just think about all these things. Write them out. Literally write them out. If you have access to Andy AI, my artificial intelligence clone, you can ask Andy AI. This is the company. Here's what they do. What are their likely marketing problems? Just go ask them. Go ask Andy AI. All right? But just think about it. What are the goals that you have right now? Are you the head of marketing? Okay, well, you have like 8 or 9 different goals as the head of marketing, right? Because you have goals to increase brand awareness. You have goals to generate more leads, and then all the subsequent goals, right, for cheap at a high conversion rate and so on. You have a platform building and dashboard building and executive decision-making platform building goal because you need to be able to capture the analytics so that you can make great decisions. That's a goal, right? I need decisions it's an intermediary step, but a sub-goal of making, right, better decisions about where I spend my money, who I target, and all that good stuff. So you have a number of goals. What are all the problems that you've encountered in your past? List them out. Why are we going to do this? Because eventually you're going to have to give them an answer about how you're going to transform them, and it's going to be in the form of trying to pick off all of these things at once. Okay, so that's A. Second thing, I want to throw out a mistake alert here. Second step, okay, now you get to obsess over you. Well, what have I done that's going to show value in helping them achieve their specific goals? Okay, now I wrote mistake alert here for you because I want to call your attention to this is where most of you get it wrong, and I want you to avoid that. So here's what a lot of you do. You think about, well, I'm going to go interview with Andy, and Andy's going to ask me what my a time that I had to influence somebody, right? We've all seen this one, heard this one, get asked this one, right? And what do? What do most people do? They think about their favorite and best story where they had to influence somebody. And you think about it, what? Independent of them, not what they need. You think about it independent of them. And so you're focused on what you think is your best story. And I'm telling you that the influential story that you want to find first and foremost is the one where you convinced them, somebody in your past, how to take on a project that's going to achieve the goal that this future employer has. That's the story you're looking for. It's not your story about how you convinced somebody to do something and some teammate to do something. That's not what we're looking for. That doesn't score you any points. You think your story's great. I'm telling you it's a complete mismatch with what I need to hear, because you convincing your teammate of something has absolutely nothing to do with you going in front of the management team or the steering committee or the whoever committee and getting them to take on your project or take on your recommendation of the solution. Who's tracking with me? Do you see this? There is a synchronization that you have to go through that aligns your history to what they need. You're telling stories because you were thinking about questions you're going to be asked. That's not the way to go. It's completely independent. It's completely disjointed. You spent a lot of time trying to memorize a story that has absolutely nothing to do with illustrating to them how you're going to achieve their goals by overcoming the problems that you are likely to encounter in their environment. Who's with me on this? You understand this? This is a big deal. This trips you up. Doesn't matter how good your story is. I don't relate. It doesn't compute. Cool? All right. Next thing, that's 2. Third thing is, do you have a job description? If you have a job description, now you're step 3. I didn't even look at the job description yet. Step 3, in their JD, they probably have some things related to your responsibilities. 99.9% of job descriptions I've seen, and I'd be willing to go out on a limb and say I've seen more job descriptions than the entire 159 of you combined. I have not really seen job descriptions that say, we expect you to get the marketing team up and running and into Central Europe in 3 months and have 28 leads on so on. You're not going to see job descriptions that have that. It's going to say responsible for corporate expansion into Central Europe, responsible for building the team, responsible for coaching and motivating the staff and writing their reviews, and so on and so forth, and yawn. Okay. But it's going to be a clue into the activities that you will perform to overcome the problems they have to achieve the goals they have. Now, if it's not plain and simple and apparent when you're doing your desk work, because you're not even in the interview yet, right? Maybe you haven't talked to anybody in the organization, but you know you're going to need to ask questions about what would success look like? What would the goal be that we achieved? How fast would we do that? How expensively or inexpensively would we do that? How many resources do we agree or not it's going to take? And so on and so forth. If you say, Andy, I'm going into an interview and I don't have a job description, then grab some sample job descriptions. You interviewing for a chief of staff position? Go grab some chief of staff job descriptions for companies that look similar. Same thing, system engineer, administrator, database architect, whatever. Pick JDs that look similar and say, well, what are those goals? What are those problems? What are those responsibilities? This is third. This is third. Next thing, power stories. Power story is Andy's terminology. If anybody else uses power story and any other career coach, you know they stole it from me. Power story, what's a power story? A power story is your story that is completely central to what it is they need you to do. Okay, so I need you to run this project to implement this software product so that our customer service team would be able to service the customers by accessing their accounts, their history, their previous sales, their benefits, their whatever, contracts. Okay, if that's what you're going to do, then your story, as closely as you can, is going to be how you implemented a project like that, a system like that for somebody else that looks just like them. That's your nirvana, but that's okay if you haven't. If you haven't, the next best thing is, where have you implemented an IT software solution around customer service? That's the next best thing. Even if it's a different company type, you don't have one of those. When have you implemented a complex IT solution of some magnitude that implemented a platform that somebody used for some reason, right? So you're going to move further away from the exact solution, but the story itself is you're trying to align what you've done in your past so you can show them exactly what you did in your past and how that will apply to their future. I implemented this for this company that looked just like you. Here's what we did. And when we hit this stage, here's the problems that surfaced. Here's how I overcame them, and so on and so forth. Now, the power story for purposes of this talk today is really the story that most closely aligns to your bread and butter skill sets, capabilities, and the thing you do the most. Okay? So if I'm a project manager, I want a story about how you manage projects. If you are a marketer, I want stories about how you set up whatever aspect of marketing it was. It's what you do day in and day out. That's going to be the bread and butter skill set, experience, and thing that's going to be the most illustrative of how you're going to help them transform. It's the meat and potatoes. Okay? It's the meat and potatoes. I recommend you use my CAR technique, CAAR. If you're wondering what that is and how to implement this in terms of the CAR technique, the free job interview playbook webinar that we just released today, that is, if you're here with me live, pinned in the chat, we'll go into that. Okay? But this here is your most powerful story that aligns to what they want you to do day in and day out. Now you're wondering, and you're going to say, well, Andy, but they're going to ask me about stuff like, how do I manage people? And how did I overcome a challenge? And how did I whatever? These other silly behavioral interview questions, let's not get to those yet. Then once you identify these power stories and you're the project manager who says, yeah, Coach Andy, this is great. I'm tailor-made for this role. I implemented a customer service platform just like the one they want me to implement. So you think about that story and all the things that you did and all the steps a la my CAR technique. Then what do I want you to do? Then I want you to start thinking about branches. Every tree has what? I got this big, can you see it? Yeah, like all these beautiful trees right here that block my view of my water. Okay, tree goes up, there's tons of branches, right? Power story, that's an electrical grid, there's branch circuits. Offshoots, offspring, call them whatever you want, but you're going to have stories within a story. In storytelling, it's actually called a frame. So there's framing to get people to look at how you want them to see it psychologically. We're not talking about that frame. I'm talking about a frame within a frame. So you are taking a story within a story and you're going to tell them that story. What could this be? Well, I was managing this project and I implemented this customer service solution, and the customer service representatives all bought me big birthday presents because they were so happy because the system was so awesome. Here's how I did it, so on and so forth. But a window inside, a branch inside this story could be, well, there was this staff of 28 people I needed to manage. How did you motivate them? How did you manage people that you did not have authority over? What challenge did you encounter when you were trying to implement that system? That becomes a story within a story, and it could be an entire interview response in and of itself. So if somebody just asks me cold, well, how do you manage people? There was this customer service system I built. It looks just like the one you want to build. While I was building that system, I had a staff of 28 people. Your story goes right into the sub-story. And so what you're going to do is once you have your power story that you are hell or high water going to tell in that interview, because it's the one that sells you best, because it's the one that shows them you have exactly what they need, so that you definitely know what it is they're looking for, what goals they have, what problems they're going to encounter, how to overcome them, and so on. You're going to start listing any additional stories that you can have related to your power story. I want to keep this cohesive. I want to keep it together, because if you're going to tell me how you motivate people, or how you convinced your team, or how you handled your staff, or how you handled your customers, or how you did any of those other things you might get asked, I want you to do it in the context that is in alignment with what they need you to do. The best and safest way for you to do that is to make sure that your offshoot stories are part of your bigger story. Don't go thinking about separate stories. That doesn't do you as much as far as showing them alignment to what it is you want them to do. Because if I'm talking about how I managed the staff in the context of doing the thing they need me to do, they're going to like that a lot more. Okay? These are your offshoots. Then after you list your offshoots, then if you want, you can go get the list of silly interview questions that's on the internet or in some booklet that I've given you, or whatever any other career coach has given you. And you could loop it back and say, do I have a story for a challenge? Do I have a story for team leadership? Do I have a story for handling a customer who beefed and moaned? Do I have a story for when I argued with a teammate? Do I have a story where I had to give a presentation? Do I have a story about a challenge I encountered? Do I have a story about a weakness, a strength, a whatever? Then you do this last. And if you do it in the sequence that I've just called out, I guarantee you, not only will you absolutely smoke your interviews, but you're going to have to remember a lot less. You're going to have to practice a lot less, which is a good thing. And you're going to be a lot less nervous. You're going to know your stuff cold. You won't have to memorize stuff. You won't agonize. You won't lose sleep the night before. Okay? So to recap, think about them. Who are they in terms of goals, problems, and so on? Just like I obsess over you. Think about you. What have I done? Show your value. Don't think about these independent of them. Think about these stories, this history, in the context of what they need you to do. Go to the job description, get some validity, look for what truly is part of the job, or you're going to speculate is part of the job. That's 3. 4 is make sure you get your power stories in order. Make sure after you get the power story in order, you get the branches, the offshoots, the whatever you want to call this, the little offspring, the little children. And then you can loop back based on your inventory of very popular interview questions. What is it that they are likely to ask me? And the other 2 things that I would do, and I wish I would have had this, but I'm going to take it out of the, because it's always right here. I would grab this budget-friendly interview helper interview intervention. I'll ship it to you anywhere in the world for $7 US. You will also get the ebook and the audio book immediately. The ebook on Amazon's $9, so my way's better. This is cheaper, and I'll send you this nice hardcover. It's a great budget-friendly interview aid. I would strongly suggest that you sign up for my new job interview playbook webinar, so that you're going to make your interviews a lot better. You're going to feel so much more confident. It will lead to job offers. It truly will. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click the thumbs up button on YouTube. Send that like. Make sure you share this. People need help. Interviewing is confusing. But now, once you know the formula, make sure you subscribe to the station. If you're here with me live, we're going to the chat. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week.